Welcome to Real Talk, Real Estate Discussions with Andrew Kirsh. In each episode, Andrew interviews industry leaders. We'll hear their real-time opinions on today's market, their background and unique career highlights, and guidance for newcomers into the industry. You can find this show at scholarkirsh.com and on YouTube, LinkedIn, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and more. Now here's the host of Real Talk, Andrew Kirsh.
I hope you enjoyed part one of my conversation with Matt Ferrari. For part two, we discuss his incredible journey in hiking and summiting Mount Everest, how he became infatuated with climbing, how he prepared to climb Mount Everest, the rigors of being up on the mountain for, I think he said, for 35 days, the altitude, the weather, the wind, the clothes, the lack of sleep, the number of times he had to urinate at night given the altitude, the loss of fingers and toes, not of him, but of other people who went up to Mount Everest just before him. An incredible journey. Don't know many people who, in fact, he's the only person I know who has climbed Mount Everest. And it's an unbelievable testament to Matt. And the sacrifice actually that his girlfriend made by allowing him to take so much time to train and to do something entirely insane. Anyway, I hope you enjoy part two with Matt Ferrari.
And by the way, it's a perfect segue to preparing to climb the world's tallest mountain.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Because we already made history now. This is our first podcast in the podcast studio. We're making history because it's going to be the longest Real Talk podcast of
1.5 speed.
We made it double speed. How did you get into climbing?
So
Answer in 20 seconds.
I read the book Into Thin Air
Okay.
in, 12, 13. Are you familiar with the book by John Krakauer?
No.
Have you seen the movie Everest?
I've heard of it and may have seen some clips.
So Into Thin Air was by John Krakauer. It's about the 1996 Everest disaster where a whole bunch of people died in a huge storm, and it made climbing Everest more popular than ever, even though a whole bunch of people died.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. So I read the book. Never thought I'll climb Everest. To me, it was such an impossible thing.
So you're in your 20s or playing baseball. You're not thinking about climbing.
No, I never was an endurance athlete. I played baseball. Unless you're a pitcher,
Who runs pole to pole.
Exactly. That's it. I'm about speed and power, right? Endurance is my thing. So I read the book, and then I'm living in Denver in 2011.
Yeah.
I hike a couple 14ers.
Okay.
I learned to ski.
When you say a 14er, what's that?
It's a 14,000 foot mountain.
Okay.
There's 53 of them in Colorado.
Okay.
So I hiked a couple 14ers, and then I moved back to DC. One of my roommates is going to climb Mount Kilimanjaro. So I'm signing up to go and climb Mount Kilimanjaro with a friend of mine. It's 19,347 or 41 feet. I mix it up with Cotopaxi. I do that. Cool. I was doing some adventure travel with some buddies. We would go to random developing nations like Chile or Bolivia. I ended up climbing a volcano in Chile, the tallest mountain in Bolivia, but I'm suffering. I'm wearing ski clothes. I don't really know what I'm doing. End up going in 2018 to climb the tallest mountain in Europe, which is now another 7 summit because I'd done Kilimanjaro, Mount Elbrus. Go up in a huge storm with a local Russian guide. I'm thinking, what am I doing? I'm going to die. Everyone's turning around. We go to the summit. It was a suffer fest. I come down. I think I need to learn to do this the right way. I had followed a guy by the name of Adrian Bollinger on Snapchat the year before. He was doing what was called Everest No Filter. He was trying to climb Everest with his climbing partner, Corey Richards, without supplemental oxygen. He ended up failing the first year, succeeded the second year. He has a guide company out of Tahoe called Alpenglow Expeditions. I looked them up. I signed up for their Mexico climbing school in Thanksgiving of 2019. I climbed the first and third tallest mountains there, Ixta and Pico de Orizaba. Don't climb for a little bit. Again, not really training for it, sort of like a casual hobby. COVID hits. I signed up to climb Cotopaxi in Ecuador, gets me training for something. Get to the top, come back. Had been reading about Aconcagua, the tallest mountain in South America. Ended up moving to Miami, so delaying a year. Sign up for that in early 23. Start reading a book called Training the New Alpinism. And now I'm kind of trying to figure out how to train for this. Don't summit on Aconcagua. Turned around 200 meters from the summit. Snow's coming in. Snow's coming in. Snow to the knees. We're moving 50 meters an hour. We had to get back down. We gave it our most snow.
50 meters an hour. So you're crawling.
Yeah, in knee-high snow with a storm coming in. Most snow in Aconcagua in years. So now I'm like super bummed.
Are you able to talk to each other?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're right in front of each other.
Yeah.
And so get turned around on that, start training a little harder for it, researching it more, sign up to climb Lenin Peak in Kyrgyzstan in, Central Asia. Don't end up summiting there. A couple teammates get sick, try to make the summit. It's a 7,000 meter peak, make the summit from Camp 3 instead of Camp 4, super windy, get to like 21.5, turn around. So now I'm like I'm taking this seriously. First two big mountains I failed.
What is your feeling when you don't make it to the top? Do you feel like you failed, or do you feel like that was still a great experience?
Yeah, I mean, so it's the first time it's the first.
I shouldn't say fail.
Well, look, I'll say this: in the mountains, coming back down and living is a success.
Okay.
Right. I mean, that is the number one goal.
All right.
Getting to the top is optional. Getting down is mandatory. I think it was disappointed. You're like let down. And so now these are the first two mountains I'm like taking my training seriously. Mm-hmm. Now the tallest mountains I've tried to climb, Lenin Peak was it's a big mountain, big glacier, crevasses going across ladders, ropes. Aconcagua is just super high altitude hiking, although close to 7,000 meters. So you're pretty upset in the moment, but then you look back and like, it was still like, I got to go to Kyrgyzstan and like, these cool places, and you become friends with the guys and your teammates. So, I mean, it's upsetting, but motivating, because now I'm like, I want to be even better. And also you have to keep in mind, in the mountains, you can be in the best shape. It's not like running a marathon. You can be in the best shape, the best trained. The mountain will determine if you can go up it weather-wise, condition-wise. You just might get snowed up and never get a shot.
Yeah. It
just might not be worth it. By the way, you want to go up and lose your fingers and toes? Like, there's a whole other component to this that is part of the success or failure. And that's what makes it exciting. If I knew I was if the outcome was, look, if you go to run, unless like a marathon or half marathon, the outcome is sort of determined. You will most
on your training.
You will most likely finish, doesn't matter how quick. Mountains, the outcome is not determined, and that's what's exciting.
When we're hearing this, it almost brings me back, not that like Fight Club and climbing are anything similar, but my takeaway from that movie was that the life they were living in that hobby, when they got back to reality, it was there was something missing. So when you come off these mountains and you have to go back to work, and you're talking about cap rates and figuring out how to find a couple dollars to get a better return, how is that comeback?
You got to book your next expedition quick, which is what I did.
Re-entry.
So what I did was, after Lenin, I booked a bunch of other mountains in Ecuador. I hired a coach, because then I was like, so I'll answer that, because it coming back from the summit of Everest, I think, is the biggest example.
So let's talk about your training for.
Right. So I climbed the third tallest mountain in Ecuador. I signed up to climb a mountain next to Everest in Tibet on the north side. So there's two sides of Everest that people need to keep in mind. There's the south side, you see all the big conga lines up, you hear about everyone dying. And there's the north side in Tibet, which is part of China. So I climbed the third tallest mountain in Ecuador. I signed up to climb a mountain next to Everest called Lac Pari. It's the first time the north side of Everest will be open since COVID in 2024. We ended up not being able to get permits, so I ended up climbing to Camp 1 on Everest, which is 23,000 feet, 7,000 meters. Aconcagua was almost that high, Lenin Peak's a little higher. I had this personal goal to get to 7,000 meters. That was my objective. I'd failed twice. I get to Camp 1, and I get to 7,000 meters and some pretty gnarly weather in the spring of 2024. I see the team going to the summit. I come home, I see them make it to the top, and I'm thinking, what seemed impossible has now become possible. I was just there. I did a big chunk of it, not the hardest part, a big chunk of it. Like, I can do this. Well, leading up to that, I had signed up with Uphill Athlete. It's a company that the author of that book I mentioned. They have high altitude endurance coaching. So Martin Zor out of Chamonix, amazing high altitude endurance athlete, becomes my virtual coach. My heart rate data goes to my watch or armband, gets loaded up in Training Peak software. He creates training blocks. I did 3 months of training with him to get me to camp 1. And now I'm like, hey, I want to go back.
What's your resting heart rate?
My resting heart rate is funny. I was just looking at it. It's been trending down in the last 12 months. It's like 56.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's interesting. I have the year chart on my watch. I just looked at it when I was on Everest in May. It was up close to 70 resting heart rate. That's how high it was going because of the altitude. So now I'm training with Marion. I have a strength trainer. I work out at the one hotel in South Beach. They have a beach club membership. It's flat, so I'm on a Stairmaster all the time. Big strength training. I'm 6 to 7 days a week, 2 days a week of lifting, 5 to 6 days a week of mostly zone 2 cardio, some intervals, mostly on the Stairmaster, some running, weighted pack, ankle weights, leading up to Everest, 6-hour days on a Saturday, 4-hour days on a Sunday in the Stairmaster, just nonstop. Going back to Ecuador to do some smaller peaks.
Does your girlfriend think you're crazy?
Oh yeah. She well, see, on top of it, to do all these mountains with Alpenglow, my guide company, we pre-acclimatize at home.
Yeah, I remember you telling me the story.
Yeah. So
You want to explain for
yeah,
the audience what that even means?
so I sleep in it's a tent. I got my girlfriend relegates me to the guest room. It's a tent that goes over my head, connects to a tube, to a little machine like R2D2, and you can set the oxygen to different levels. So you'll start at like 5,000 feet, and to get to like 20,000 feet, you'll go to like 17,000 feet over a 30-day period, 8 hours a night. I usually do an extra week because of traveling for work. I'll miss a day a week. For Everest, I had to sleep in this for 2 months. Again, started a week or two earlier, so probably 10 weeks. By the time I'm leaving, I'm sleeping at the equivalent of 18,000 feet. It's absolutely miserable. That allowed me, when I did the smaller mountains in Ecuador, I could fly to Ecuador in 4 hours, be on the summit of a 20,500 foot mountain in 48 to 60 hours and back home, because I didn't have to get used to getting the high camp. I could just go for the summit. For Everest, that allowed us to go sort of straight to base camp at 17,000 feet without having to pre-acclimatize. So a normal Everest expedition is 60-ish days. Alpenglow could do it in up to 35, sometimes quicker, depending on weather conditions.
So wait, say that again. The normal time it takes
to climb
is 60 days?
Yeah. So normally, if you go on the south side, you will do weeks of trekking through the Khumbu Valley just to get to base camp. You'll go climb usually Labuche East to do some acclimatization, and you'll get to base camp at like 18,000 feet, 17 and change. And then you'll do one rotation up and then to the ice wall, back down, and then wait for the weather. But the season starts early April, ends end of May. By doing this pre-acclimatization, I'm able to skip having to get to the point where I can just get to base camp. I can go straight to base camp.
You can only climb Everest in a 30, like, what did you say, end of April to May? That's it?
That's the big season. There is a fall season.
Okay.
It's super snowy, so usually people are trying to ski down it in the fall. It's a lot emptier. But yeah, the Everest climbing season, really you can summit in the month of May.
Okay.
But people are kind of working their way to base camps in April. Yeah, so it's the old school way is like a 65-day trekking in, drinking whiskey and waiting out the weather. And yeah, it's a real endeavor. So using this method allows you to cut the trip in half. Last year, the team summited in 21 days because they were kind of rushed. This year, we waited to the very, very end.
So how many people on the team?
So they had what they call their open enrollment team. And there was also people that was 5 clients, 2 guides. And then there was a few 1-to-1, 1 guide, 1 client, what they paid for a private expedition. So on our team, there were 9 clients, 6 guides, 15 Sherpa, and then some of the Tibetan kind of cook staff taking care of the camp. Yeah. And so we left April 25th, got to base camp, I don't know, May 5th, 4th, 3rd, something like that. Summited on we all summited on May 27th. I summited at 6:51 in the morning, Kathmandu time, and got back into the US on June 2nd.
How long were you up that day of, I guess what's your typicals, the number of hours you're sleeping a night?
Yeah, so like a base camp's pretty comfortable. There's a huge dining tent. You have a big box tent. I have some great photos with a mattress, electricity.
We'll get some of these photos when we
put on
in post-production.
Yeah, so it's pretty comfortable. There's a shower.
You say comfortable. There's no way my wife would be on this trip. Is there a Four Seasons Mount Everest?
Yes, there's not that yet. Who knows? It could be coming. So I thought base camp's fairly comfortable. Look, it gets cold at night, but then you go. So base camp's at 17.
Talk to me about the temperature.
So at base camp, like not that bad. I mean, if the sun's out, like maybe it could be feels like it's in the 40s. But like I can remember, but at night it gets cold. So you're in a 40-degree sleeping bag. But I can remember like coming out of the shower in like shorts and it's sunny out. When the cloud cover comes in, it gets colder. When it's windy, it gets colder.
But you're climbing up Mount Everest from base camp to summit. How many days?
I mean, it's weeks.
It's weeks.
Yeah.
So you're sleeping outside.
Well, in a tent.
In a tent.
So we have a big box tent.
I'm a Jewish kid from Beverly Hills who's never been like outside.
So like the base camp tent's pretty comfortable, sleeping bag on a little bed frame mattress. Then you go to interim camp at 19,000 feet. You're in a normal tent. You would like a camping tent. That camp's it's kind of miserable, little dining tent, not comfortable. Then you get to advanced base camp. Again, we have a big dome dining tent. You go to the bathroom in like a tent with basically like a bucket with a garbage bag in it. You always have a pee bottle because you wake up, you have to urinate a lot because of the altitude and trying to stay hydrated. So like you'll wake up multiple times at night to pee and everyone goes in a bottle, male or female. This is a thing. You don't want to get out of your tent.
There are pictures of the bottle.
It was an apple juice bottle that I carried from camp to camp and everyone made fun of me about. Some people would just have a designated one. We joked about it like your Nalgene bottle, like people labeled like
pee.
Yes.
Do not drink.
Yes, exactly. So you don't want to get out of your tent at 21,000 feet out at advanced base camp. Then it's pretty cold and it could be windy. But it's somewhat comfortable, but at that altitude, the living conditions are miserable. Like it's just I can just remember leaving my sleeping tent. It's a 3-person tent. You get to yourself, going to the dining tent at 5:00. And like, you want to bring your toothbrush, your water bottles, all your layers. There's heaters in the dining tent, but everything you need, because just the 20-foot walk on rocks at night from the dining tent to that tent, like would wind you. It just is exhausting. So like, you don't have to go back and forth. You just want to stay, and then it's cold, right? Then like 8, 9 o'clock, we're done eating, we're playing games, time to go to sleep. Pretty cold. You get in your sleeping bag, you put hot water in your water bottles, that you put those in your sleeping bag, you put your down booties on for your feet. You're sleeping in like layers of jackets and pants, depending on how cold it is. And like, it's kind of miserable. Like I'm getting pictures of my girlfriend going to the beach in South Beach and I'm at 21,000 feet. And like, what was I thinking?
And you're not showering or?
So base camp had a shower. So you'd shower like every other day. Advanced base camp, they had one, but like you just didn't want to do it being cold. Yeah. So you're not showering.
Growing a beard.
Yes. So then we get to advanced base camp, rest for a few days. Now what happens is our guide company wanted you ideally to sleep at Camp 1 without using supplemental oxygen, 23,000 feet. You have getting from base camp to advanced base camp in 2 days is like 4,000 feet of gain, 12 miles. Beautiful, huge ice penitentes. They call it the Miracle Highway. Pretty cool, but you're in high altitude. It's high altitude trekking in your approach shoes. Going to Camp 1, you climb up a very steep snow slope on a glacier. The last 300 feet is like almost vertical on a fixed rope, Jamar, crampons. It's just the coolest climbing you can do. It's awesome. Hot. If the sun's out, sweltering hot. You have the sun blasting off the glacier. If there's no wind, you're in like almost a t-shirt drenched in sweat.
Wow.
And it's just
exhausting. You're clipped, like, how do people die?
How do people die? It could be the altitude. It could be unclipping from the rope.
Where they just fall.
Yes, but so what happens is in Himalayan climbing, there are fixed ropes and you use a Jamar. So you have a harness on and then you have a bunch of things with carabiners and a Jamar.
I want to know what the waiver looks like.
I don't read it. I should have had you read it before I signed it. So you once you get to start going up Camp 1 on the glacier, you clip in your Jamar into a fixed rope, and it's actually very, very safe. And then you have a carabiner at the end of the rope. And what will happen is every, I don't know how many feet, the rope goes into an anchor, it's tied to another rope. So you could just hang there. The Jamar only slides up the rope, it can't go down. So as you're moving, you're always holding this thing and sliding it along the rope or up the rope. If you just let go, you'll just hang from there. Well, what would happen is Once you got to a knot on the rope, you unhook the carabiner, move it to the other side. So now when you unhook your jamar, if you were to slip, your carabiner can only go to the anchor of the knot. And then you hook the jamar into the next side. So you have double protection and you're sliding up. It's interesting on the way down, you don't use a jamar. So you either rappel when it's super steep, where you're just kind of hanging and rappelling yourself down, or you're arm wrapping. And if you fell, you'd fall all the way to the next point because now you just have two carabiners on. So you get to Camp 1, super cool steep snow slope. You get to 23,000 feet and you sleep up there with no supplemental oxygen. And it was the worst night on the mountain. I'd forgotten my down booties. I didn't want to get in my tent. My tent mate Ben was super.
Never forget your down booties.
Oh, it was terrible. My feet were freezing. I wake up at 1 in the morning, I ask him what time it is. He's like, it's 1 a.m. I'm like, oh my God, I have 6 more hours. But then the sun comes out, it warms up, we go down. You're like, all right, the guys are like, that's the hardest part. Now we're pumped with red blood cells. And it's time to wait for a weather window. A bunch of teams went up around 17 and 18 in high winds. I found out some teams on the mountain with us. I talked to a guy the other day. His friend was with another guy coming, lost his fingers. They went up, super high windy days. Our guide company said, we know there's going to be a good weather.
What do you mean lost their fingers?
Frostbite.
Despite gloves.
Frostbite. So windy. I don't know. I mean, we waited. We had a great Swiss forecast that said the weather was going to be amazing in the mid to late 20s. And it was amazing. They rushed it. He doesn't have fingers now. I don't know how many he lost, but I was just texting with this guy because he's going.
Even if it's one, it's not worth it.
No. But by the way, I would have my gloves off on the summit of Everest. All they had to do was wait 10 days.
All right, so 10 days. I mean, it sounds like a lot. 10
No, it was
days.
miserable. By the way,
my kids won't wait 10 seconds. 10 days.
I was jealous of them going up. I'm so glad we didn't go in that weather. And our guide company, Alpenglow, is just the best guide company you could have. We all had radios. We all knew where everyone was. I mean, we waited. It was risky, and we had perfect summit night weather. So now we come down to advanced base camp. They realize the weather's going to be good.
Maybe they didn't pay for as many days as you guys did.
Well, that guide company, their goal is to do it in 21 days. Ours said, hey, we might be able to do it in 21, but
we want everyone to have their fingers exactly.
So we come down, and now it's the weather's going to be not good for a while. We go back to base camp. So all the way down, we have to go to town for a day. It's like shave, shower, and then we rest at base camp a few days. And now we're like, hey, the 27th is going to be the day. So now I go back up to advanced base camp in one push, miserable. Took me 11 hours. I was like worked, 4,000 feet of gain. We're waiting a couple days. They're like, hey, we're waiting one more day. I'm like, I just want to get home. At this point, I'm staying one day at a time. And now we go for the summit push. Back up to Camp 1. Now we get to sleep with supplemental oxygen, which I had never used. And that was the game changer. I passed out for 10 and a half hours. Because what happens at altitude is you don't eat as well. You don't recover as well from moving, from the climbing, because of the low oxygen. Now I've got supplemental oxygen on. I felt so good the next day. I was eating better. I slept well. My guide was like, dude, you were passed out. Now we go from Camp 1 to 2, super windy, sunny, 4 hours to Camp 2. We go from 23 to 25. Very windy in the tents, a little uncomfortable, steep pitch. And then we're going to go Camp 2 to Camp 3. That gets you from 25 to like 27. Again, super windy, but they said that night the wind is going to die down and we're going to have 5 kilometer wind, 0-degree temperatures for our summit push, which was the night of Memorial Day here, 26 going to the morning of the 27th. So that's kind of life and getting to the point of the summit night.
So now you're getting to the summit. You're climbing in the middle of the night. You have headlamps on, icy conditions, I guess, on the ground, right?
Yeah. So it's a combination of you're wearing a down suit, big down suit. You got your harness, you got crampons on your boots. And the north side of Everest is a combination of snow and rock.
You ever see Seinfeld when George has the big puffy jacket?
I didn't see that one.
I'm thinking that's what you look like the marshmallow.
Yeah,
man.
I mean, you kind of do. And so we wake up at 11:30 p.m. and there's no wind. Like I was trying to sleep. It's super windy, no wind. You can see the stars. We're like,
so high you could touch the stars.
Like they nailed the day. Like this is perfect.
So it's like, let's go.
Yeah. So we're getting up. All the Sherpas are coming. I'm assigned my Sherpa, young Lakpa. He made his 15th summit. He's carrying 2 oxygen bottles for me. I changed my bottle. I got one with the guides. And it took us 5 hours and 45 minutes to summit. You kind of climb up a steep, rocky snow slope to get to the top of the Northeast Ridge. And now you have 3 steps. But before we get to there's the first, second, and third. The second is the most famous. It's super technical. There's a ladder there. That's the crux of the mountain, the hardest part. Before you get there, you go to Mushroom Rock, this cool little rock, and that's where we do our first bottle exchange. So we change oxygen bottles. And that was the moment where it was like a holy shit, this is for real moment. And that's because my guy turns around and looks at me and says, hey, I don't want you to be alarmed, but on the other side of this rock, there's a dead body.
Oh my God.
So there's a corpse there. It's just in this gear, you can't see the person. And that's when I'm like, man, everything's going so well, but like things can go really badly here. And it kind of snaps you into.
Can you tell like when that person died?
No, but I started like Googling around and stuff, and you get it. Like, I mean, I think that I know the last person, there's another body at the second step and the third step. The second step was from 18 or 19.
These people have been there for years,
Decades sometimes. It's too high. It's too high. It's a frozen block of ice. Yeah.
And so what are your thoughts?
Don't end up like that. Like things can go bad. You need to take this seriously.
Bob isn't coming up there to get you.
No one's coming up there to get me. But again, we had such good weather. So I'm like, I was feeling maybe I felt better on the summit push than I did climbing to Camp 1 without supplemental oxygen. But that allows me to be super acclimatized and ready to go. So get to the first step. I'm like, all right, that wasn't too bad. Now it's the second step. That's where like you get a little nervous. Super steep rock ladder. You see the next body. You get to the top of that, and you're like, that was the hardest part. Like this is going to happen, but you still have hours to go. So now you have the third step. Not too bad. Next bottle exchange. See the last deceased person we saw, and now you're like, all right, like this is it. Go up to like kind of a little bit of a traverse around some rocks, and then you get above those rocks, and it's just a snow slope. And one of my guys, a good buddy of mine, Tico, he's already up there with one of my other teammates. And that's when it got very, very emotional, where it's just like my eyes welled up, put my fist in the air because I'm like, I have it. It's the last like couple minutes to the summit. Some of our team's already up there. I'm with a group, and you get up there and you're just in awe. Little cloudy when we got up there. I had a bunch of flags I had to get photos with. So I had my TruAmerica flag and my Skidmore baseball flag. My buddy Will Matthews, I brought his flag. My Buffalo Bills flag.
Oh my gosh.
So, and then we did a group photo.
Should have given you a Kirsh flag.
I know this. Everyone's told me this. So I would have brought them all. Like it wasn't that much weight on summit day. And you're there for like 15 minutes. I wish we stayed a little longer. I wish I had taken my mask off and thought about what it was like to breathe versus like I took it off for photos and like wasn't breathing through it, but like really felt.
So you are is it the tallest place on earth?
Yeah. 29,032 feet. Yeah, it's high as you get. You see Kachinchunga to one side, third tallest mountain in the world, show you another 8,000 feet to the other side. As we're heading down, the clouds kind of clear. So one of our guys decides to fly a drone, gets amazing drone footage.
You're bringing drones up there too?
He brought a drone. We get amazing drone footage of us rappelling. So you have to rappel.
I'll have to put this on the podcast.
Right at shortly below the summit, we all rappel down. And there's just this amazing drone footage of folks rappelling down. It was the highest rappel I'll ever do in my life. But you have to realize you're like, wait, I got up here, but now I got to get all the way down to advanced base camp. It's kind of almost, you're more tired and harder to go down because again, you're not using your Jamar, you could fall. So like, again, you got to snap.
Hasn't your adrenaline left you because you summited and you reached the top and now it's,
that's
now
why.
It's like real work. You've
Yes.
climaxed.
Yes. No, it's like, but then you're like, you gotta, getting down is not optional. So it's like, you have to stay
Get
focused.
into that.
Right. You just have to, you have to like.
Getting back is part of the journey.
It's like playing a doubleheader, right? You win game 1.
Yep.
You go eat your lunch or whatever, hang with the team for 15 minutes. It's like game 2. Like that's the beautiful thing about baseball. There's no like a week between games. You got to now bring your A game again. And you got to do it for 12 hours because you want to get all the way down to advanced base camp. So you got to go back to high camp, camp 3, pack your stuff up, eat some ramen noodles, boil some water, then get down to camp 2, then get to camp 1. And then even going out from 1 to advanced base camp, a bunch of rappelling, glacier,
technical stuff.
Yeah. And you're spent, you're worked.
Did you feel like anyone that was part of the group was just slowing you down and you just wanted to like push them off the mountain? Like, come on,
No,
you don't deserve to be here.
no, I think, well, look, I think on my open enrollment team, there's prerequisites to qualify to be on our team.
Right. You can't.
So because now a private, you could have less experience and they'll take you because you're not going to impact the group team. So our team was very dialed. Now, I think of the four of us who ended up summiting and went on the summit push, I think we had different strengths. Some of them live in the mountains and they were fast going from like base camp to advanced base camp, way faster than me, quicker on scree. And then others were better on the technical steep rock climbing. I think I was like pretty good with that with my crampons on the rock.
Given that you live in South Beach, Miami, what were you good at in 28,000 feet with ice?
So I was very comfortable on the steep parts with the rock at the second step with crampons on rock because I had spent a bunch of time, like I just been going to Ecuador over and over. I spent some time in Chamonix doing ridge climbing. And I remember one of my teammates, he hated that. I remember he got down, he's like, I'm done with 8,000 meter peaks. And he's cursing. He's like, but he was the fastest going from like base camp to advanced base camp, like, cause he lived in Colorado and like, he would crush that. So like everyone just had different strengths, but I never felt there was like anyone inhibiting me. We were able to spread out too, because we had the whole mountain to ourselves. Everyone had already summited. So it was just us on the
You
mountain.
were the last one.
Yeah.
I got to be respectful
Yeah.
for my podcast producer who's behind the scenes. I guess my last question is, what is next for you? Like, how do you replicate that feeling?
It's a question everyone asks. And there's this,
I thought it was going to be original.
yes, there's this blogger, Alan Arnett, who goes over the Everest season. And he's like the news of Everest. And he's climbed a bunch of the big mountains, Everest, K2. And he kind of writes out the feelings. And he's been all three of them. Like, you summit, you don't summit, but it's your fault. You don't summit, but it's someone else's fault. And the emotions that come through it. And when I read what he wrote, my eyes almost welled up because it's exactly how I felt. People high five you, they want to buy you a beer, they want to hear about, and then they say, what's next? And you don't even have enough time to process what you just did, right? So
I feel badly even asking.
no, but so look, I think, well, by the way, in the short term, no climbing, because my girlfriend, who's an absolute angel and so supportive, was like, you just spent all this time, like, we have some other things we're going to focus on. And like, so I signed up for a half marathon only because I've never been a runner, to kind of just keep my fitness. And I need goals.
You need ultra marathons now.
I need like goals to focus on something. And over the medium term, I would love to finish the 7 summits. You know, I got to get my revenge on Aconcagua because I got to go back there, do Denali, do the Cartid Pyramid, and go down. I'd love to go to Antarctica and do Vincent. I think I'd like to learn a little, like, get better with it. I don't want to be a rock climber, but get better with rock climbing so I could do like a Mount Kenya or a Matterhorn. I think the 30-day Himalayan expeditions are not in the cards anytime soon. So shorter trips where I can still get altitude and climbing, but it's going to be a little bit, like, just given the huge commitment I made the last 2 years to this.
People know I'm a big Tom Cruise fan. So if you go to Mission Impossible 2, the first scene, he's climbing, I think in Yosemite, without anything. Like, it's his hands and chalk.
Yeah.
Bullshit. Like, no way you could even do something like that.
I'm not a rock climber.
Okay.
And I would never do that.
Yeah.
But there are famous rock, I mean, the movie Free Solo,
Yeah.
Alex Honnold, who's, I think, very good friends with Adrian, our expedition leader, and all that. Like, some can do that. Again, I like the mountaineering component where there's some rock, some different, you know, you're on a glacier, you're on a rock, ropes. Like, I like that combined. I don't like just rock climbing. That's not interesting to me. And I also have always just been very intrigued at how I respond to altitude.
Your body.
Right. Like, I find that of like figuring out how I can kind of beat the altitude. Right. I find so I've always liked going higher and higher, but that takes time.
So Will Rogers Park in the Palisades to Mescal Canyon. I'm going to take you on those hikes.
Okay.
See how you do.
All right. I'm in.
I think we may get to like 800 feet.
I'm in.
All right.
I'm always up for a workout like that.
So I think we're going to break this up into a 2-part series
All
of
right.
Matt Ferrari.
Fine. However you want to do it.
We could have gone for another hour. I know Katie's waiting for us. I'm glad you came back.
Yeah.
Alive.
Yeah.
10 fingers.
Yeah.
10
10
toes.
shows.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing your story. Thanks for talking about the real estate market.
Yeah.
And
I love sharing it. Sorry, we got to go 2 parts, but I think it's worth it.
Yeah, we could go 3.
Yeah.
All right, man. Thanks for coming on
Awesome.
and debuting the podcast today.
I know, but you get to be the first. It's a good sign.
All right, man.
All right. Thank you.
That's another episode of Real Talk.
You've been listening to Real Talk, Real Estate Discussions with Andrew Kirsh. You can catch prior episodes at scholarkirsh.com and on YouTube, LinkedIn, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and more. Thank you for your positive reviews, comments, and for sharing the show with others.